Hello, good afternoon, all viewers out there. I am live with the CEO and founder of Follow the Camino, Umberto Di Venosa. Umberto, how are you today?
I'm great, Kieran, and yourself?
I'm very good. I'm very good. We're here to have a little conversation about the future of eco travel. Not the most sustainable industry in the world, travel, but Follow the Camino are taking some steps to try push the industry in that direction. Umberto, would you mind quickly talking about some very exciting news that Follow the Camino received in September of last year?
Yeah, well, I suppose we're talking about sustainability, and it's a, it's a great question. And in September of last year, we've finally, after a good year and a half, uh, been certified as a B Corp. So it's a process that took us over a year. Uh, that we can discuss, but more if you want. But yeah, we're delighted, we're thrilled. We are the second, we're one of the only few working holiday company to have been certified B Corp. We are the only Camino specialist worldwide to have certified that. And I suppose what is important is not so much the stamp, uh, but it's the process that help us as a company, interacting with our customers, our suppliers, our employees, to make sure that what we do is consistent, makes sense, and get the recognition as opposed to just doing our own cooking on our side. So we're thrilled to be one of the B Corp, and as part of the B Corp movement, we are trying to get more and more companies to become B Corp. Now, B Corp is not only about sustainability in the environmental sense of things, but also economical and community, local things as well. So it's cool. It's
Mm.
great.
It's fantastic. It's a wonderful movement, and it's particularly impressive that Follow the Camino gets to be a part of that movement, leading from the front. Particularly in the travel industry, as I said, it's not an industry you immediately associate with sustainability and with forward planning for a better planet for the future. So, how exactly do the B Core values relate to the travel industry?
I suppose B Corp is one certification that we have chosen to go for. There are a couple of others. We've chosen the B Corp. The main companies that people might know would be Patagonia, the clothing manufacturing company. Procter and Gamble is actually a B Corp. Um, so how is that going with the travel industry? I suppose um, just one thing so that listeners might understand is that any economical activity and spend is actually emitter of carbon. You go to the shop, you buy a sandwich, there is some economical activity, there is an amount exchange. Uh, so there is an impact on the environment. However, if your sandwich, let's say $5 or $10, is vegetarian, the impact is lighter than if it is um, beef based from the other side of the world. And I'm not here to judge whether you should be vegetarian or vegan or anything like that, but just to understand. So when we spend in travel money, we have an impact. Uh, we're lucky enough that our Follow the Camino works in the walking holiday sector, walking and cycling. So we do have an impact, but our impact is lesser. So when you spend, um, I will just take some random figures, 1,000 euros or dollar ticket with us. Um, well, let's say that you travel on a cruise ship. That money goes to low wages of staff, petrol, heavily capitalistic type of ship, um, and quite some pollution. If you spend that on a working holidays, your money is going more to local hotels, not big chains, with family, usually family-run business. I'm saying usually because on any working holiday you will cover on a week 6 or 7 accommodations, for example.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
So,
impossible for every business to be small, locally run.
right,
You do have those chains for a reason, but
but you're guaranteed that that spend is more local.
mhm,
Mind you, same thing if you are spending uh, uh, money and traveling every couple of months for a working holiday the other side of the planet. Obviously, once you're there, the impact will be smaller on the environment, but A, it will not be nil whatsoever, and B, there is the traveling element of it as well. So,
mhm,
um, I suppose we're just trying to with our job, our what we like to do, what our customers love uh, us to organize for them, working holidays, cycling holidays. We want to do that to the best of our ability in the most sustainable way we can.
absolutely. And the joy of the Camino is it's a genuine human experience, no matter where you're from on the planet, no matter what your circumstances in life. If you want to come and walk on the Camino, there is a sense of community and a sense of oneness that you can experience when walking the Camino. So I can very much see where the motivation for Follow the Camino comes from, with wanting to offset any environmental impact that might come from people wanting to experience that, wanting to experience that on the Camino themselves. You might come from Sydney, you might come from Tokyo, you might come from New York. You can still come to the Camino, and if you walk with Follow the Camino, you'll be able to do that in a way that has less of an impact on the planet. Have you found that since gaining that B Corp certification, that kind of more people have been asking questions related to their environmental impact going on a walking holiday, or is there education needed about what that actually means to people?
So it's not something we have a great feedback on,
Mm,
but when somebody purchases a holiday, a lot of parameters come into account. You know, price, obviously, quality of service, etc. So um, for me, uh, ticking that box of sustainability, genuine sustainability, and not greenwashing, is a way to make sure that when people buy it, that they can feel the trust in us on that.
mhm,
As simple as that. So for that element, this is we are top quality. On
mhm,
the others, I believe we also are top quality on the others. But at least if somebody is more looking at the environmental impact, etc., we are on top of things there and putting great effort to improve things in the future as well.
mhm. And do you think that's a trend that is going to continue on into the future? People are going to want to they're going to want a more sustainable holiday. They're going to want to lower their impact whenever they go abroad, and that it goes beyond just carbon emissions, lowering their footprint as a whole. Is that something that people are going to continue to want?
So uh, as customers, we're a bit schizophrenic, whereby
Mm,
we want to do the right thing. However, you know, when you had the fast food and you can have the large option for an extra 50 cent, chances are you're going to get that one. So you know, there are very tricky questions that go deep inside of every individuals. So I suppose for me, the sustainability journey. Never mind the business side of things. I feel I'm doing that for myself. I'm doing that for my team. I'm doing that for my
mhm,
customers. Never mind uh, uh, what other people do. It's not an obligation. We could have put the option of, oh, for an extra €1, for extra this or that. Here, we're not here to judge. We're doing that because we believe in it. And we believe that our product, including that uh,
mm,
sustainability aspect, is very competitive with any other operator. And that's that. It's a belief. So, uh, so whatever, I'm not here to judge anybody. Uh,
mhm. So it's
on that.
about walking the walk yourself before pointing any fingers at
Yeah,
people
yeah,
and saying
yeah.
what you're doing or not
It's a,
doing.
it's a, it's a journey.
Mm,
As I was saying, our sustainability journey has started a few years ago. Um, We've tried to do a carbon offset project in Ireland, which actually failed. We've worked for a couple of years on something, and so um, uh, we are really trying to do the right thing, and doing the right thing is actually quite hard. It's easier to do
Yeah.
to buy cheap stuff, etc. But um, we're good at it. We're getting even better. So, and it is possible. So we're doing it.
And in line with that, I just wanted to draw attention to another kind of sustainability development within Follow the Camino in the last few months. Follow the Camino signed the European Commission Sustainability Pledge, which is a pretty major deal. That's you talk about walking the walk. That's walking the walk in front of the European Commission. That is not something to be sniffed at. So, would you mind going into that a little bit? What the
Yeah.
pledge is all about and what it means for Follow the Camino.
So while we were certified B Corp in September of last year, we have signed the UN Global Compact, uh, which is similar to what you were mentioning, the European Sustainability Pledge, but at the UN global level 5 years ago. So I suppose the European Sustainability Pledge, to me, it's only a follow-on, but the principles are similar. There are, I can't remember, 13 or 15 principles. Um, and areas of sustainability that we need to work on. Not all of them apply to companies like us. That's it anyway. So it was great that we were invited in Brussels to sign this pledge and to appear on stage in front of 500 high-level decision makers at the European Parliament. And Sylvia Montes de Oca, our operations director, went there to sign it. And for us, it is great to have this commitment. And again, we're just here to do the right thing and to follow that thing. So for that, we need to compare, we need to see what does that scheme mention, what the other scheme mention, what is reasonable for us. Some stuff that are not important to us in terms of electricity consumptions. For example, for a company like us, who are working remotely, we have laptops. We change them when they break, we repair them, we upgrade them. But that has been the case for the past 10 years. So I'm no longer looking at these things. At some stage, we're not going to work off mobile phones, for example. And one might argue that the mobile phone is actually putting as much, if not more, than the laptop. So, however, there are other projects that you may be interested in, or whatever that I can talk if you want. But yeah.
I mean, certainly committing yourself on a global stage to those far-reaching projects. It starts from things like repairing laptops rather than throwing them out, and you work your way up to demonstrating that in a very public forum. It certainly.
Kieran, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just to give you an example, keyboard and mouses with the USB dongle. These are things that we've spent hours trying to match the right mouse with the right keyboard with the right dongle. So this thing, it would be much cheaper. I can tell you that, €20 to get a new set
Yeah,
than to
all wrapped in
to try to
plastic, ready to
match.
go.
Oh yeah. So I have myself spent hours on it. However, after a few hours and a few that were unmatched after a couple of attempts, they were eventually scrapped and brought to recycling. Oh yeah. But uh, these are the small things that we want to apply to various um, elements, aspect of what we do at our level. And more than doing that, uh, what I hope is that it inspires people. Never mind us. Okay, we are a travel agent, we're an operator, so we organize, but we rely a lot on our suppliers, our partners. Um, Again, talk the talk. So one thing we did in October of last year, went to Santiago. A few of the team went there, and actually brought some shower heads that save water. And we went to visit several hotels, and every hotel was offered, given shower head. I have no intention in entering the business of selling shower heads to hotels. It is not my trade. I'm not, but
It's
organizing
not
a
going to be your side hustle
holiday.
then.
No, but we wanted to raise awareness uh, and a bit of a neural stimulation. Say you could have your water bill.
Hmm.
When you're talking to an hotel of 20 rooms, 30 rooms, um, it's massive. In Spain, have you heard about droughts in Spain? Catalonia hasn't had rain in the past 2 to 3 years. You know, so uh, after we're not the decision makers, um, we're trying to use our greatest power in my mind, which is influencing,
Hmm.
whatever that means. But at least we're trying, and we're taking note of these initiatives, and we hope to build up on it. So we're organizing events with suppliers to talk to them about different initiatives. We're trying to highlight what some hotels have done so
Hmm.
that other hotels can inspire themselves. People react more to peer as opposed to if the message is coming from top to bottom. So if one hotel has gotten fundings for a solar panel, this and that, we can do a case study and want to communicate that to. You're talking to hundreds of hotels, and
Hmm.
my hope and my view is that if I've got 10% of the hotel every year that do that, by 2030 we may have 80% of the hotels on the Camino that have solar panels. And I'm using the solar panel examples, but there is a number of tasks they can do.
It goes into all elements of operations, which actually
Right.
leads me nicely into my next question, which was about how Follow the Camino is transforming its operations on the ground. Um, we've talked about shower heads, we've talked about solar panels, we've talked about influence.
Yeah.
How
So
how do you influence businesses to make decisions that are more sustainable but might not be in their immediate best interest?
and Kieran, it's very hard. You
Mm.
know, if um, people have to be sold. One thing that we've tried since 2018 is to ask our luggage transporters to use electric vehicles. So it hasn't worked so far, but again, every year we make the phone call, talk
Hmm.
to our taxi, say, uh, Manuel or whoever, what about electric vehicles? Where are you charging your vehicle?
Mm.
And we're trying to see with them what would be uh, the challenges. So now we're going to work on trying to find European funding to support this type of activities for our supporters. Again, we're travel agencies. We're here to organize great working holidays
Mhm.
for our clients, and we do that day in, day out. Uh, but some of our resources and time is spent on influencing or helping. So we're going to try to get a grant for that. Um, the Camino Ingles has availed of some public funding from federal to Santiago to put, for example, water fountains along the
Mhm.
Camino. Okay, very simple. On the Camino in Spain, you buy a bottle of water for €1, €1.50. So financially, any of people coming from the States, from the UK or whatever, will be able to buy one bottle a day. No problem. It's €10. It's two glasses of wine at home. So it is not important. But never mind the financial element. So we're trying to apply what there is on the Camino Ingles. We're working with European institutions to apply that across the whole of the French way.
Mhm.
Again, we're trying. We are um, at, against this type of scales, um, administrations,
Mhm.
regionals, country-wise, European, uh, but
It's a lot of hoops to have to jump through, and the French way is several hundred kilometers long across,
yeah,
major cities through to one horse
yes,
towns. It's not like I
three
understand it's
three
not
big
easy.
regions, three
Hmm.
big Spanish regions, and look, uh, I'm not here to do politics or anything like this. Is can we have water fountains, please?
Mm.
As simple as that. Yeah, but we'll work on it. And we are hopeful, that are good sign. If it was done on one of the Caminos, why will it not be done elsewhere? It's also one of the European legislation that every city should make drinkable water accessible to its citizens. So, you know, um, we're, maybe we're influencing, maybe we're nagging, uh,
Mhm.
but it's better than sitting back and not trying, you know. And we,
Absolutely.
and
They
so slow travel. We're trying to have slow travel for our operations, for our staff. We give up to 5 extra days if they travel slowly.
mhm.
Okay, that in actual fact is if they take the train or car or bus instead of
Mhm.
flying. Again, uh, we're at early stage, guys, because if you have one of your employee uh, that use these days, maybe their partner don't have that in their company. What I hope is that in 1 year, in 2 years, their partner would have told their managers, and that by 25, 26, 27, it becomes more spread out. Will it
Mhm.
work? I don't know. But what I know is that for to the best of my ability and my power, I've given that to my employees. Um, so where I have power, I will use it in that direction, and
Yeah.
hopefully that will kick or help the other obviously
Yeah,
organization
I've
pushing
seen
this.
that directly from the employees that follow the Camino. I've seen the pictures of people on buses heading from one place to another. I've seen people cycling from one town to the next, all part of that slow travel initiative. It's not something I've encountered before. As somebody who's been in the marketing industry for nearly 10 years, I've not encountered it at any other company. It's not something, as far as I can see, that other companies, they almost treat employees and internal operations as entirely separate from however they might be sustainable elsewhere. So they'll spend a lot of money on trying to work with suppliers who will only use electric vehicles, but they'll have no problem with their staff buying bottles of water at an event. So
Mm-hmm.
it needs both sides of that coin. It needs the house, your house needs to be clean before you can go into someone else's house and suggest improvements. What do you think that Follow the Camino are doing that other tour operators just aren't, in terms of sustainability, trying to reduce a carbon footprint, or even just more broadly meeting the B Core values of operating in a way that is ethical before profit is the main concern?
Uh, you know, my job is to drive my team and my company.
Mhm.
Um, if you start looking at what is elsewhere all the time, then you're not looking ahead.
Mhm.
So I like to concentrate on what we do. So I do not check what are the sustainability activities of competitors. I get inspired. Uh, I wouldn't be able to be accurate what what we're doing. However, uh, I know that what we're doing is the best you can do because I talked to some friends in the industry that
Mhm.
were already a big corp. I'm using experts in sustainability to say, is that scheme, for example, for our carbon offset, we are using uh, stove. Uh, Cooking stove in Kenya, and we've used
Mhm.
also electric power project in India, gold standard project. Um,
This is the project where Follow the Camino will help to fund uh,
yeah,
cooking stoves in Kenya and India to reduce
exactly.
the fuel emission there.
They are pure carbon offsetting
Mhm.
projects, which have its own challenges, but I've gotten this project not checked by me. I am not a
Mhm.
specialist, but by a specialist, and I got the go ahead by these guys. Okay, so. Um, we all are specialists of different things and we need to use each other in that sense.
Mhm.
Um, what it makes a difference with competition is we try to be partners with suppliers. We try to adapt to them, so it's not all a question of price. Can we instead of reducing the price, can we keep the same price and have a better quality?
Hmm.
So one of the new thing we've done, we had a lot of complaints about vegetarian meals, for example. So we've recorded 5 vegetarian food recipes,
Hmm.
and in Spanish, and we are sending that to our suppliers. Because in Spain, in Portugal, sometimes for vegetarian they ask for salad, and they might have a bit of tuna on top of the salad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Chorizo is considered a vegetable.
this kind of thing. Uh, so we're doing that, and again, it's not to give lessons. Say, guys, it's not that difficult. Do it,
Hmm.
do it, do it. And it's increasing. You can see that more and more hotels have vegetarian options on their menu compared to 10 years ago. It's good.
Yeah.
On our guided tours, every single one of our guided tours, we have one vegetarian meal. Uh, Again, it's not first, it's to raise awareness. Um, Ask your friends, your family, would they eat
Hmm.
without meat? And you'll see some of the responses. People will look at you, what? No meat? But myself, it was, I finished the Finisterre Way with a charity. I was guiding a charity in 2016 or 17, and I had a bit of a carnivore mindset. My group was at the table, and I arrived after them because I was with other people at the back of the group. And I arrived and I was hungry. It was 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and checked the menu. And here I see no meat. And I start being fidgety. I look
Yeah.
around and I see my 8 of my group. And I'm like, am I going to go to the other bar to have a burger or something? I'm serious, huh? And I say, come on, Umberto, you can do it. You can do it. So I got a courgette salad.
Hmm.
It was lovely. And I was satiated and I survived. So I hope by doing that, and I come from a rugby background,
Yeah.
barbecue, no problem. Uh, Again, no judgment, but that people can start saying, yeah, yeah, I can have a meal with no meat and survive. So
It shouldn't be a de facto by any stretch of the imagination. It's a product of the world that we've developed, that meat has become a
yeah,
standard at every meal. That's not how it used to be. That's not the way it needs to be for the planet to be in a better position in 20 years' time. There's the simple facts. So courgette salads all around, rugby player or no rugby player, I say, bring them on. Just to pivot slightly on what we're talking about, and to go back into talking about the suppliers a little bit. Um, you mentioned before working with small family-owned businesses, and kind of the nature of the Camino and a Camino holiday is walking through rural, remote areas that would not normally be touched by tourism in the same way that beach resorts in the south of Spain would be. So, one, what value do you put on those relationships with kind of small companies where the Camino might be, the businesses that operate in those small towns in the Camino might need the 4 months of high season to survive for the rest of the year? What value do you put on those relationships? And then when you try to encourage more sustainability measures with those businesses in particular, after we had talked before about working against their own self-interests, how do you show them that sustainability is in your interest in the long term, particularly if you don't have the advantage of being a sought after tourist destination 12 months of the year?
so first of all, the Camino Frances, uh,
Mhm.
all of these areas without the pilgrim business, most of the towns would have a massive drop in the economy. Galicia, the region nearest to Santiago, 10% of the economy is pilgrims, is the Camino.
10% of the
Uh,
whole
yeah, 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 yeah.
economy. Wow.
And you've got a fishery, you've got government, I don't know, you've got a lot of things, but 10% is the Camino. Um,
That's excluding any other tourist activities in Galicia. That's just the
yes,
Camino.
yes, yes, the Camino,
Yeah,
the Camino.
that's very
So
sizable.
um, by virtue of moving slower, you're spreading your spend in a greater fashion.
Hmm.
Instead of going to Disneyland, you've saved, and you're spending 2 days, and you're spending, I don't know, $2,000 or whatever in Disneyland, and everything is funneled. Here you're spending a bit here, a bit there, a coffee, a beer, and that's employment in the local area. This is keeping schools open because there is
Hmm.
employment. People can stay and have a decent livelihood at home. So the pilgrimage kind of spread that and share the tourist spend, I suppose.
Hmm.
It's not all about Madrid or Barcelona. It's a bit about Castelleritz. It's a bit about Puente Arena, San Roman Retorta, all of these
Yeah.
towns that nobody has ever heard about. And apart from Camino mindset, uh, and it is important. It's great, And never mind the Camino, other walking routes,
Mm.
anywhere, because walking you are going slower. Um, your span is also slower and shared and more targeted at local stuff. It's it's uh, it's quite virtuous.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And again, just to tie it back to sustainability, then how what can small businesses do at that very, it literally might be a couple running a 4-bedroom hostel in a rural town in Galicia. What kind of simple measures could they put into place to make whatever small carbon footprint they have even smaller?
Yeah, and difficult question. There
Hmm.
are some research done into that. I was at an event where there was a doctor in tourism that spoke about sustainability. And if, for example, you put the the soap in this big container, for example, people might think it's dirty or it's not the same element or it's not as exclusive as this little sachet or
Yeah.
disposable one use. Um, the towel reuse thing is one of them, although on the Camino, technically you're moving every day or so. Uh, so, what would I recommend? A small business, I suppose. Okay. The first step to sustainability is to get a baseline. A
Mm.
baseline means to at least to know where you stand now. There's nothing to reduce unless you know what you're counting. So how much water, how much electricity, whatever. Once you've got your baseline, then either common sense or with an expert or tutorials to the internet, there are some priorities,
Hmm.
LED lights, all of these obvious things now, 2024, But I'm sure there are still some non-LED lights somewhere, and they consume 8 times as little. Um, and then it depends on the spend on the investment. It can be this captor to automatically switch on, switch off the light, all of these things.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, uh, I'm not an expert in sustainability, although I have a good knowledge and understanding by now. I've spent hours on it. But all of these things, the double flush toilets, I don't understand. Um, any public receiving premises that doesn't have a true double flush toilet, I just don't get it. Uh, a full flush is 20 liters, 15 liters for the more modern
Mm.
tanks. Number one flush, the small flush is 3 or 5 liters. Multiply that by the number of people. Here's a
Mm.
number for you. An average pilgrim in a hostel uses 70 liters of water per day.
Seven. Wow.
Now, uh, is it a lot? Is it not? It's hard to tell. The person goes for the shower,
Mm.
shower in 5 minutes, you're using 30 to 40 liters in 5 minutes. And when you're tired, you don't care about the time. So
No,
it's all of these small things. But again, some of the activities we want to do is to raise awareness. We're not here to judge. Everybody has a good reason to take a bath. However, I think nobody has a good reason to take a bath every single day.
yeah.
Simple as. So,
It's
but
making small
again,
adjustments. It's not
yeah,
putting
yeah.
it's adjusting.
And so, and again, it's hard. It's uh, no matter what, being more sustainable means to do with a bit less.
Yeah. More
If
things in moderation.
if
Um,
if we if we were to all eat vegetarian, but double the portions,
Mm.
there is absolutely no point. Okay, so if all of the vehicles, if there was 3 cars per household and they were all electrics, no point.
Yeah.
Simple as.
So a lot of common sense tied into it. And speaking of common sense, then, do you have any for people who want to go on the Camino? Do you have a couple of tips for how they could pack in a way that's more sustainable, or tips for
Yeah,
how what they could bring along, and then what tips would you have while they're on the Camino to reduce their footprint?
that's a very good question. Um, First thing, you will need less than you think. And think that you have to unpack and pack every single day, and that's no fun. Uh,
Mhm.
so we have a packing list that maybe we'll put the link somewhere, but we have a packing list that says if you're carrying it, this is what you should pack. If you're getting your luggage transported, this is what you should pack. Anyway, having one of these bottle of water, that's a must. Okay, buying plastic bottles of water, I do it 3 times a year when I don't have my friend with me. It's
Yeah, it's a sad day
that's
when you
it.
don't have it with you.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that, and then um, I'm not sure. Sit down and have a meal at the cafe. Look at it this way. This I'm talking about the more Western world and the new mindset of getting these coffee cups. Even if they are recyclable or compostable, you're still producing something that will last 10
Mhm.
minutes and then be destructive. Sometimes you stop for coffee with this nice white cup of coffee that will be washed. That's good. So stop, have a meal instead of all of the wrappers. Maybe that's a good one.
Absolutely. Um, Brilliant. And then another question then, and this is maybe will come under the tricky category as well. Who do you think has a greater responsibility to lead the way in how the travel industry operates sustainably? Is that onus on travel companies? Is it on the people who are doing the traveling? Is it on pilgrims and tourists? Or is it up to government to step in and regulate and say these are the rules and you all have to play by them? Or is it
Yeah,
some
look,
combination?
um, so uh, we are small players, we are travel agent, and we influence, we give tips, and it's lovely.
Mhm.
So the big impact, however. So to me, the key is legislation. We are human. If we can have more, we will have more.
Mhm.
I'm sure anybody listening to this so far in the video, if you've got the choice between a smaller house and a bigger house, chances are you will get the bigger house. And it's the same for anything: the bigger car, the bigger this, the bigger that. So, um, in order to do less, I only see legislation, and price tag. There's no, to me, there is no other way. Look at it this way: um, if climate change uh, and the 1.5 degree Celsius max increase, um, which is gone, by the way, we're at 1.7 already, so
Mhm.
the Paris Agreement is gone. If we are serious about it, the only way is legislation. Look at it this way: if we want people to behave well in society, what do? We put a law and we outlaw
Mhm.
murder, we outlaw violence, we outlaw that I cannot take your lovely t-shirt, I cannot take your laptop. There's a law against that. Why? Because we know that if I do that, there may be trouble, and then we're going to conflict, and it's not good for society. So, if we're serious about climate change and its possible impact, I've just heard earlier on the radio that an increase of 1 degree average on the planet uh, is a decrease of 12% of GDP.
Mhm.
Why? Because if it's too hot and you cannot work, you're less effective. If there are millions of refugees that that cannot do this and that, um, it's trouble, it's difficult. So imagine that 1 degree,
Right.
12% of GDP. Um, And the sad thing is that in the West, we are the least affected by climate change. I'm French. I live in Ireland. So, in Ireland, an increase in 3 degrees, we're all for it.
Yeah.
But it makes livelihood of people in other part of the world, other latitudes, impossible, simply impossible. So it is a serious business. Only legislator can do that, and they can. Huh? But look at it this way: there is no tax on kerosene in Europe, so people fly for relatively cheap prices. But while you pay 23 whatever VAT tax on your sandwich, on your car, on your bag, on your laptop, when you fly on that petrol, there is no tax. Is that serious? Now we all benefit from it and go for weekends
Mhm.
here and there, and it makes traveling more affordable. But I would raise the question: is that serious? Probably not.
Absolutely. I wasn't aware of the tax issues. It makes Ryanair flights seem uh, less feasible the more you think about it. Perhaps the days of us flying to somewhere else, 3 or 4 countries away from us for €15, perhaps that needs to end, and rightfully so. I just like to wrap up our discussion there with one last question for you. How do you think the next 5 years is going to look for the travel industry in terms of a shift towards greater sustainability? Can we make eco travel a more realistic goal in the next 5 years?
If we want more people to travel farther and farther away, no. So um, we have a conflict of interest here.
Mm-hmm.
We want to travel more sustainability, conflict of interest. So for the industry, I'm not sure. Cruise ships, I'm not very interested in that. Big hotel resorts, I'm not very interested. It's not my gig. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, uh, the bigger the type of company they are responding to shareholders. So shareholders, the only thing they want is a return on investment. That's it. As a B Corp, for example, we've put the planet in our terms of incorporation. So when we make a decisions, we think about the stakeholders being the company,
Mm-hmm.
shareholders, employees, and the planet. It's small steps, but at least it's there, set in stone.
Yeah.
Anyway, but for us, uh, I'm looking forward to it because walking, cycling, holiday, all of these itinerant holiday are great. And one thing not to forget that while we promote a specific destination, uh, the Camino, for example, Santiago, whatever part of the Camino, um, what I want is that people, before the trip, go on a walking trip next to home. They
Mm-hmm.
book a B&B next to home and they do 2 days trip. Again, that's local economy. Cost very little, help you train for that, help you see great places that you have near home, for example. So I hope in the next 5 years that people do more micro adventures.
Mm-hmm.
These things at your doorstep. Uh, I'm very happy for people to use Follow the Camino, will organize your holiday and will do a great job and great support, etc. But get out on your own doorstep. Take the bus to go on weekend or to go on a holiday. Try
Yeah.
it.
There's a whole wide world out there, but it starts at your front door, right? So
I think
get out and
so.
see what's local too. Listen, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for your time today, Umberto, and for all those watching. If you are interested in planning your own Camino experience, you can find us at followthecamino.com. We will put up a link in a follow-up post tomorrow or the next day after this meeting. Umberto, thank you again so much for your time and for discussing the future of eco travel. All the best with your own eco travel over the next month or so. And thank you to everybody, and good evening.
Thank you, Karen.